Biking plus taking the train. That's our new favorite way to explore the national park. That was so much fun.
For the last month, we've been road tripping around some of the Great Lakes states. We've driven down Minnesota's North Shore, which reminded us of the Pacific Northwest with its rocky cliffs, kayaked in sea caves at the Apostle Islands, learned how cheese is made and explored the beautiful scenery and farms in Wisconsin, and hiked, learned mining history, and saw some of the bluest waters in Michigan.
While there is still so much left to explore along the Great Lakes, our goal is to make it to New England for the fall. So after taking some time off with family near Chicago, we're back on the road and continuing our drive east with some stops along the way, starting with our 40th U.S. National Park, Cuyahoga Valley. Cuyahoga Valley National Park is located just 20 miles south of Cleveland, Ohio, and is home to waterfalls, rock cliffs, marshes, lakes, and more. And today we're going to explore the park by foot, bike, and train. We're kicking off our one day in the park at one of the most popular spots, Brandywine Falls. It's a quick walk to the 60 to 65 foot falls. We read different numbers, but the best part is dogs are allowed.
This is Brandywine Falls, and we've seen some photos where the water goes the entire rock face and it's just raging, so this is a very light flow compared to what we've seen, but still really beautiful, especially with all of the layered rocks and the waterfall just kind of cascading down them. We've headed about 15 minutes away to the Ledges Trail, which is a 2.3 mile hike that takes you through narrow sandstone cliffs. And this hike is also dog friendly. In fact, most of the park is dog friendly, which is awesome because normally the national parks do not allow dogs on trails. And another unique thing about this national park is that it's 100% free to access.
Pretty neat to walk amongst these ledges. They're just overhanging you and they're 50, 60 feet above you. So along the trail, there's a couple little detours you can take that are just barely off the trail. And this is one of them. This is probably the most narrow one we've come across. Really cool.
If you do this trail, you have to take some of the offshoots off the main trail. Those have been some of our favorite spots on the hike so far. We just found this one area and walked through it, and it opened up to this. We're just surrounded by the ledges. There's green moss on them. It just feels like something out of a fairy tale. This is the coolest spot on the trail so far. A huge part of this area's history, as well as Ohio and United States history, is the canal. In the 1830s, the Ohio and Erie Canal ran through the Cuyahoga Valley on its way to connect the Ohio River with Lake Erie. This canal created an inland water route between the East Coast and the Gulf of Mexico, which helped fuel westward expansion with many goods being transported through its canal. By 1850, largely due to the canal and the people it brought, Ohio was the third most populated state.
Once the railroad arrived in the 1880s, the canal became less used, and in 1913, a flood damaged the canal and it was too expensive to repair. But fast forward to today, what was once the canal is now an 87-mile towpath trail with 20 miles of it taking you through Cuyahoga Valley National Park.
This towpath is accessible by foot, bike, wheelchair, and strollers, and it takes you along the path that mules walked as they towed boats through the canal loaded with goods and passengers, and today we're going to experience some of it by bike.
We just rented bikes from Century Cycles in Peninsula, which is right along the towpath here. It costs $10 per bike per hour. We have a handful of stops we want to make, so let's hit the trail. Oh. I love riding bikes. When I was a kid, I used to ride bikes all the time, all over the neighborhood. It takes me back. We passed a couple locks along the towpath, and if you don't know what a lock is, it's basically a water-filled elevator. So there's one part of the river or canal that's higher than the other. The boat goes into the lock, the water lowers, and then the boat can keep going, or the other way around. It enters, the water raises, keeps going on the higher side. Wahoo!
We biked about 3.3 miles to Zale's Farm and Market, which started in 1931 as a vegetable farm and now is a sweet corn farm, but they also have a market where they sell a bunch of fruits, veggies, and other goodies.
On the weekends they sell roasted corn and ice cream, but we're here midweek, so we missed that, but we did get some nice goodies for a little picnic. We stopped off at beautiful Indigo Lake for a nice little picnic. So we got some chips. What goes best with chips? Some salsa. This is avocado tomatillo salsa from Zale's farm. And then some, this is random, but we got a big cup of cantaloupe, but
It just sounded good.
Yeah, this is some of our favorite things. Some nice sweet fruit, chips and salsa. Can't beat it. Our last stop on bike is the Beaver Marsh, and this is a beautiful example of how a place can be cleaned up from junk, literally. So before the 1800s, this area was a wetland, and then the railroad came along and it was drained out. Parts of it were then used as a dairy farm, and then before the National Park Service came along, an auto body shop littered this place with all kinds of car parts and old cars. And in 1984 there was a big cleanup, and at the same time beaver started to come back to the area. They had been absent from here because they had been trapped out for their fur. Humans cleaned up and preserved the land, and then the beavers restored natural water levels, awakening long dormant seeds in the soil. Wetland plants returned, creating habitat for diverse wildlife.
As we mentioned earlier, trains started running through the Cuyahoga Valley in the 1880s, and they're still running here today. You can either take a multi-hour train ride through the valley, or you can kayak, hike, bike, or walk aboard the train, which basically means that you kayak, hike, bike one way, and then you take the train the other way, which we just think is so cool.
It costs $5 per person to bike aboard the train, and the train schedule is pretty limited, so make sure you check it beforehand, because if you miss it, you're either gonna have to wait a long time or walk or bike back.
So this isn't one of the main stations, so you're supposed to wave the train down so they stop for you.
Biking plus taking the train, that's our new favorite way to explore the national park. That was so much fun.
We had a great day exploring Cuyahoga National Park by all the modes of transportation. It was just so fun to be able to see so many different types of things and in so many different ways.
Well, we're now going to hit the road and head a couple hours east to Pittsburgh to see some family and also explore a bit of the city.
Hear thee, I am the queen of corn. If I didn't have these on, it would just... The gangsta queen. Apparently it's like a tomato thing. Cuyahoga. The ranger just said Cuyahoga, so sexy.
Oh my gourd.